over the news this week, as he is seemingly every week. He appointed his political backers to a new Disney oversight board. He released a new book, The Courage to Be Free. And by the way, I have a little...
Man, he's so courageous.
Gift for our studio audience. Look under your seats. The gift is, it isn't there. You don't have to read it. You're welcome. And he also put up this eye-catching video.
Florida is proof positive that we, the people, are not destined for failure.
DeSantis wins. He has made a promise, and he's making good on the promise.
Florida is leading the nation. Decline is a choice. Success is attainable. And freedom is worth fighting for.
Wow. There is a lot there, but Florida's proof that we the people are not destined for failure? I don't know about that, Ron. Last year alone in Florida, a man tried to steal a crossbow by stuffing it down his pants. A woman instigated a police chase so she could cross getting arrested off her bucket list. And a man was charged with battery for throwing a hot dog at a police officer. We the people may not be destined for failure, but a lot of individuals down there sure do seem drawn to it. This all feels like part of a coordinated rollout of DeSantis' inevitable presidential campaign, because even though he hasn't yet officially announced he's running, he's already many Conservatives' favourite candidate. After his landslide re-election as governor last November, the New York Post proclaimed him "de future," which is, you know, depressing. And he received this cringe-inducing introduction from Carrie Lake.
I'll tell you what he's got. I don't know if you heard of this, but he's got BDE. Anybody know what that means?
Yo, this is not a meme. Like, the amount of conservative, like old conservative women that have talked about how they want to get their backs blown out by Ron DeSantis is honestly probably the most concerning thing about the modern American conservative movement. Like, I personally thought that when they used to talk about how Donald Trump is hot, like when the middle-aged like white ladies would fucking wear those shirts, it's like, grab my pussy, please, sir. You know, I thought that was like really scary and really weird. I didn't realize it could get worse. Because at least like Trump is a TV personality. He has clout. He has like some level of charisma, even though he's gross, right? Ron DeSantis is gross and doesn't even have any of those other things.
Ask your kids about it later.
What?
I call it Big DeSantis.
Ew. She said, that's some MILF manor ass bullshit right there. She's like, ask your children about big dick energy. Never be worse than Biden touching kids in public, to be honest. Brother, that's funny you should say that. Because, yes, Joe Biden is a disgusting freak as well. Like, old man constantly smelling little girls' hairs and shit. But, like, Ron DeSantis also did grooming. Like, he tried to fuck high school girls that he went to parties with when he was, like, a 35-year-old man. Teaching the high school girls. He would go to their parties and drink with them. Like, that's insane. Like, he drank with underage girls. Oh, he wasn't 35. He was like 23. Still, they're underage, man. They're underage. But of course, remember what's really important here. That kind of pedophilia is not considered pedophilia by the Republicans. They literally think that that's sick. I'm not even kidding. They're probably like, yeah, brother, what do you mean? Those 16-year-olds are sexy. And Ron is a man after all. He wanted to do what he wanted to do. He did what a man does, brother. Statutory rape. Okay? Understand now. Ron does statutory. See, that's what I'm talking about, dude. These are good. These are good ones.
Energy.
Okay, that is obviously terrible, but just to be clear, if you don't know what BDE is, Please don't ask your kids about it later. In fact, for the sake of those kids, I'll just tell you right now, it stands for big dick energy. A kind of easy magnetic confidence that doesn't necessarily mean you have a large penis or indeed a penis at all. It's just the energy associated. A list of those with BDE would include Bryan Cranston, Christine Baranski, the Pixar lamp, Charles Darwin and Snoopy. Does that make sense? Please come to me and not your kids if you need any penis-related slang explained in the future. And look, it is worth noting, in general, you can't predict much about a presidential race 20 months out. Previous early frontrunners include Jeb Bush, the late Jeb Bush? I don't know. It's unclear. Howard Dean and Rudy Giuliani, who is currently wandering around Central Park covered in Thousand Island dressing and screaming about election fraud to pigeons. And DeSantis is eventually likely to have to go up against Donald Trump, which history has shown is no easy task. And while Trump initially struggled to coin a damaging nickname for DeSantis, with his first attempt being the embarrassingly weak Ron DeSanctimonious, he later...
So bad. Meatball Run is fucking good, dude. Hit the Meatball Run. You got to hit the Meatball Run moment, dude. You have to capture the essence of that. When I saw that, I was like, oh, he's back. Like, he's back. It's perfect. He's back. Call him a groomer. Imply that he's a fucking pedophile and call him a meatball and you're good. You're goated. That's like typical Trump. That's classic Trump. That's good shit. None of this like, oh my God, the sanctimonious. That's bullshit.
To unveil something with a lot more punch.
According to the Times, Trump has spent weeks trying to goad DeSantis into a fight, describing him in conversations as Meatball Ron.
Yeah, apparently he was calling him Meatball.
Meatball Ron is too relatable to fat Americans who vote Republican. No, you're wrong. Dude, my friend, what do Americans love to make fun of more than anything else? Fat people. Americans, it's like a pastime. There's two different pastimes in America. One, being fat. Two, making fun of fat people who look identical to you. Are you kidding me? Have you never met a fat American? Are you joking? They are the worst at fat shaming. Fat people love making fun of other fat people who they will sometimes forget look exactly like them. Especially conservatives, I'm talking about.
Ball Ron, and I hate to say it, but Trump still got it. It's perfect.
Meatball Run is great because it also is Italiophobic, as I've mentioned before, and I love that. I'm such a big advocate for Meatball Run. I also love ethnic slurs that you hear in Europe and stuff. You know what I mean? I feel like America has too much anti-black racist shit and not enough anti-Polish sentiment, not enough anti-Italian sentiment, not enough anti-British sentiment, not enough anti-German sentiment. These are the types of things we could be engaging in. And yet, for some reason, we don't do any of that. And we're just oh, you're talking about, oh, you said the C word. Oh, I'm so upset. Come on, dude. Give me something talk about how many Polish people it takes to fucking, screw on a light bulb or some shit. That's a diverse grouping of slurs that you could you can target. Nothing is more fun than putting a Brit in the place by saying absolute Tory behavior. Americans would have to know where Poland is. It's true.
vaguely stupid, childish, and hurtful in a way that's genuinely difficult to articulate. Also, it's a pretty good name on its own. If you asked me to describe the perfect meatball Ron, I'd say, I don't know, maybe a round little hamster or this smiley cartoon character, you know, little arms and legs, little mustache, maybe voiced by Chris Pratt in a straight-to-streaming kids' movie with weirdly Christian undertones that feels vaguely anti-Italian somehow. But then, if you simply showed me a photo of this guy, I'd say, forget everything that I just said. That is my meatball Ron right there. That is my meatball. But whatever Trump calls him in the future, the fact is, Meatball Ron remains a strong contender for the Republican nomination. And while many commentators insist on framing him solely in opposition to Trump, saying things like he's Donald Trump with a brain, that doesn't seem particularly meaningful. It's like saying that new restaurant is better than this chicken pot pie that fell on the sidewalk. Sure, it is, but you're not really giving me much useful information there. So, if I may quote Tom Brady's publicist while reviewing his old golf photos, let's take Trump out of the picture. And tonight, let's examine DeSantis on his own merits and look at just some of what he has done to and for the over 20 million people of Florida, because it's sometimes less than he claims, sometimes less than his critics claim, and sometimes worse than you may know. And let's skip over his early life, the short version being he grew up in Florida, was a standout baseball player, and even got to the Little League World Series with his local team. He then went to Yale, then Harvard Law School, and subsequently joined the Navy as an attorney. Eventually, he married his wife, Casey, despite having the most bizarre dating tactic I have ever heard. According to a former classmate, DeSantis would apparently tell dates he liked Thai food, but pronounced it thigh. And if they corrected him, he would make up an excuse and leave because, quote, he didn't want a girlfriend who corrected him. And if
Dude, that's some top G behavior right there. No woman will ever correct me because by virtue of being a woman, that means you are wrong. Didn't he torture people in Gitmo? I don't know if that's the case or not. I've heard that from Empire Files, right? Or whatever.
that is true, wow. Just imagine being on that date. You're out at dinner and out of nowhere your date tells you that he really likes Thai food. And you think, wait, did he just call Thai food Thai food? I must have misheard. But then he goes on to say...
He was a lawyer who oversaw the torture. Oh, that makes sense for sure. Like, I'm sure he was, you know, like, I guess providing. Oh, it was prisoners' eyes left. I don't know what the exact details are. I never read the article. I'm sorry. But I don't think he was like an actual torturer himself. Gitmo, Guantanamo Bay.
Say that he knows a great Thai food restaurant in the area, all while staring very intently at you, almost studying your reaction. So as politely as you can, you say, wait, do you mean Thai food? Like, from Thailand? And then suddenly his face drops and he says, sorry, I forgot I have a doctor's appointment tonight, and he leaves, leaving you both with the check and the single greatest first date disaster story of all time. Then, flashing forward, in 2012, DeSantis was elected to Congress, though while there, a former colleague says that he always had his earbuds in to keep people away. And if you're picking up on a theme of Ron DeSantis doesn't like hearing anyone's voice but his own, you're onto something. Because since becoming Florida governor, he's made shutting down dissenting voices something of a feature. Here is a campaign ad from last year in which he shows off his skill at battling the media.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is your governor speaking. Today's training evolution, dogfighting, taking on the corporate media. Number one, don't fire unless fired upon, but when they fire, you fire back with overwhelming force. Does it say that in the bill? I'm asking.
Like, he's not even catty enough. Like, he just, you know, is this camp? No, it's not like, he's like sassy, but not in the same way that Donald Trump is. Like, he's not telegenically sassy. He's more like, I went to Yale. I went to Yale and Harvard. It's like that. Well, like, Donald Trump has the it factor. Ron DeSantis does not.
I'm asking you to tell me what's in the bill. Number two, never, ever back down from a fight.
If I could complete the question, though.
And the fights are like him yelling at reporters, but like not even in a cool way.
You gonna give a speech or ask a question? Number 3, don't accept their narrative. It's wrong. It's a fake narrative. I just disabused you of the narrative, and you don't care about the facts.
Amazingly, until around
Yeah, like the same reason why Donald Trump is mid when he says Ron DeSanctimonious is the exact same reason why Ron DeSantis sucks. He said, I disabused you. Yo, shut the fuck up, dog. You sound like literally Donald Trump just has to come up and be like, disabused, gay, you're gay. Boom, it's over. Okay? What do you mean I disabused you? What are you reading books? What kind of are you reading books with like gay stuff in them? Is that what it is? I thought you were banning the gay books, not keeping them all for yourself. What is this? Disabused? Get the fuck out of here with them $2 words. No. You know what I mean? Get the hell out of here. Yes, fellas, learning and reading books is gay.
40 seconds ago, Top Gun Maverick was my favourite movie of last year, but now I'm sad to say it's my least favourite movie of all time, tied with Cats and the Zapruder film. DeSantis is constantly complaining the media is taking him out of context, although it is worth noting that in that ad, he's removing some pretty important context from the media. Take that clip where he said, are you going to give a speech or ask a question? If you look at the start of that exchange, you'll notice that only one person is doing the fighting there.
Governor, what has gone wrong with the rollout of the vaccine that we've seen phone lines jammed, websites crashed?
There's a lot of demand.
And
I mean, I
also,
think at the end of the day, excuse me.
If I could finish my question.
You just said what has gone wrong, so I'm answering the question.
If I could complete the question, though.
So you're going to give a speech or are you going to ask a question?
With all due respect, Governor,
you asked the question, I'm going to answer it.
I'm trying to finish my question.
No, you're giving a speech. You asked the question.
I am trying to ask you the...
You're going to ask how many questions? You get 3? They only got 1 question. Why do you get 3?
With all due respect, Governor, I'm just asking if I could finish my question.
You didn't. You finished the question.
No, she didn't.
Mar the Hads hitting me in the middle of the hour. My friend, you already should understand why that's happening. Because at the middle of the hour, there's a secret ad break.
And all she's asking you for is some basic accountability. When you see that in context, that's a pretty gross case of someone meatball-splaining to a journalist who's just trying to do a fucking job. Though, to be clear, DeSantis doesn't hate all media, because there is one notable exception, and it's the exact one that you are thinking of. DeSantis is on Fox News all the time, morning, noon, and night. Even by Republican standards, the mutual affection between him and Fox is pretty extreme. In just one 4-month stretch, the network asked him to...
Yeah, Rupert Murdoch is like very, in my opinion, very clearly trying to fucking ham up Ron DeSantis because they see Trump as a threat, as a liability to the Republican Party, which in many respects they're correct. But Ron DeSantis is not the solution. Donald Trump seemingly is going to destroy Ron DeSantis in the fucking primaries, regardless of how much playtime he gets from Fox. And then he's going to turn around and lose the fucking whoever the fuck, Joe Biden again, most likely. You know what I mean? If he's not dead. Ron DeSantis, Donald Trump is the guy, much like many of these other people, who is the guy that'll win the primaries because he's the most extreme, right? Ron DeSantis, on the other hand, has no mass appeal and doesn't have enough appeal in his party regardless. Ron can't defeat Donald Trump because Donald Trump is who Ron DeSantis has tailored himself off of. You're always going to be the second best. No matter how much the party props you up, you are still a political demon. Okay, you're a part of the political machine. Trump, regardless of being fucking president and being a billionaire that funded a lot of these politicians, okay, and funded a lot of political initiatives, has always been able to separate himself from the political machinery. Ron DeSantis can't be that. He also doesn't have the swag that Donald Trump has. But yeah, he has appeal from the GOP donor class, and isn't that what matters? Yes, but Donald Trump does have legitimate grassroots mobilization, and that is huge. You need to understand. The Republican Party runs to its base. The Democratic Party runs away from its base.
To appear on its airwaves 113 times, or nearly once a day, with one Fox producer even offering to let him pick the subject matter if he agreed to come on, which is just pathetic. I'll put it this way. If Fox News ever went on a date with Ron DeSantis, they definitely wouldn't correct him when he called it thigh food. But DeSantis isn't just another Fox talking head. He sells himself as someone with a proven track record, and he has done some terrible stuff. For instance, at his urging, his state's medical board banned gender-affirming care for minors, and he signed a 15-week abortion ban into law, while recently suggesting he'd sign a 6-week one if it reached his desk. But look, lots of Republican governors have done things like that. What makes DeSantis extra popular on the right is his willingness to wage big, symbolic culture wars. He's bragged that he's made Florida the freest state in America, while defending its residents from the greatest scourge of our time.
Wokeism is really a form of cultural Marxism. The wokeism is the new religion of the left.
We are not and will never, ever surrender to the woke mob. Florida is where woke goes to die.
OK, first, Florida is not where woke goes to die. It's where wealthy Upper East Side New Yorkers go to die. Get your facts straight. But second,
True.
DeSantis says woke so often it begins to lose all meaning. But if you wonder what he thinks it actually stands for, his general counsel once helpfully defined woke in court as the view that there are systemic injustices in American society.
Oh, God. Yeah. This is why you watch me, chat. I'm going to do a little glaze sesh here, a little quick glaze sesh. I've covered every single aspect of this already throughout numerous months, and you are already armed with this information because you watch me, okay?
And the need to have policies that address them, which is a hell of a thing for someone to admit to everyone that you are against. DeSantis might really want to invest in a lawyer more willing to lie for him. I actually understand there's one currently wandering around Central Park who is available if you can catch him, but you'll have to be careful. He's slippy. DeSantis spends a lot of energy decrying wokeness and empty virtue signalling, although he also seems to spend a huge amount of time doing the right-wing version of exactly that. For instance, there was the time that he waded in on Leah Thomas, a trans woman who'd won an event in an NCAA swimming championship. The second-place finisher happened to be from Florida, which DeSantis then took as an excuse to come out and do this shit.
If you look at what the NCAA has done by allowing basically men to compete in women's athletics, in this case the swimming, you had the #1 woman who finished was from Sarasota. We're going to be doing a proclamation saying that Emma is the best.
Oh my God, this is so dumb. Yo. Guys. I think one of my major locks of this past year has been the idea that conservatives don't virtue signal, they vice signal. This is it. He's doing a participation trophy, which is hilarious, but they love doing vice signaling. They're just like, they just talk about like just being mean and awful and unkind as though it's a political virtue. Half the time you could just like avoid all of this shit. He's like, why? Why do you do any of it?
Female swimmer in the 500-meter freestyle because she earned.
You got vice signaling from a chatter? Did I? Okay. Well, thank you, chatter. It's mine now.
That.
Okay. aside from being fucking gross and awful, to be very clear, DeSantis doesn't have the power to declare or disqualify winners in college sports, rendering that proclamation completely pointless. But since men in suits seem to be using their platforms to invalidate past athletic achievements out of pure spite, I hereby declare that by signing this, Ron DeSantis' Little League team, the Swingin' Meatballs, did not...
Another writer credit on the HasanAbi broadcast, paid in exposure. Bitch, you're literally watching the HasanAbi broadcast on the John Oliver show right now. The fuck out of here. That's the first time I've been pulled out of chat. That was scary. John is great for normies, though. That's true. I don't remember what the Vice signaling conversation went like. But there's 0% chance that a chat just brought it up on his own uniquely. I probably was presenting it in that capacity, and then they perfectly summarized it, which happens regularly. Wasn't it a tweet? Go away, please. I can't handle this. No. I actually want to know. I don't even care about it. I do want to know how. You laugh when a chatter called it Vice signaling. You had the idea. We had the name. Yeah, it probably was like something I was talking about. I wonder if we could find the clip. I guess it's been used before. But usually that's usually how it's cooked. Go away, please. I can't handle this. You can't write in the chat and expect me not to pull you. Stop perceiving me. I will perceive you. Okay.
In fact, ever make the Little League World Series. Instead, his team's place will from henceforth be taken by the Season 6 cast of RuPaul's Drag Race. I declare it.
The best deal from chat of all time is still the boss going back to being a worker one. Yeah, I love that one. That's a rip. That's a yoink, 100%. But that, again, that's another perfect established trope that we collectively brought to the table. Because I was talking about how, like, you don't go to fucking jail when you lose your job. And then someone was like, yeah, you become a worker. And that's when it was like a perfect cherry on top. The boss back to worker thing is from Marx, but just modernized. Regardless. Your chat arena's broken. I listen. Yeah, but the copy is what does the work. The punchline is the hard part. What do I always fucking say? God, I always say, what do I always fucking say? But what do I always say? Half of you motherfuckers come in here to literally carbon copy my takes so you can sound smart on dates. Okay? And that's not a bad thing. Whenever someone comes in here and goes, yo, this guy literally stole your takes verbatim. And I'm like, I don't think that's a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. That's the point. I want these ideas to spread. That's why I don't monetize it for people. Like, that's why I don't have any IP safeguards on it. Because I want people to repeat them. I want people to internalize them. That is the goal. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. I want people to collaborate and come up with better ideas as well. I told my date Russia wasn't going to invade Ukraine, and she said I'm dumb. That's funny. All right.
It is declared, it is done. But it's gone way beyond just empty, hateful proclamations. DeSantis has also signed a bunch of attention-grabbing bills that seem designed to delight conservatives and enrage liberals. And while the announcements of these bills tend to get a lot of national media coverage, the actual implementation of them can get far less scrutiny. Take DeSantis' so-called anti-riot law, which he passed following the Black Lives Matter protests in the summer of 2020. That law, among other things, strengthens criminal penalties for those deemed rioters at demonstrations. And he loves to brag to conservative audiences about just how mad it's made people.
And I have to say, brag a little bit, our anti-riot legislation was recently criticized by the United Nations, so I wear that as a badge of honor.
OK. But being chastised by the UN isn't innately positive. What other admonitions would fill DeSantis with a misplaced sense of pride? I was also criticised by the Holocaust Museum. Lego called me a scumbag. And Malala Yousafzai said she'd punch me in the throat if she ever got a chance. So I wear that as a badge of honour. But it is not just the UN that had a problem with that law. A judge issued a preliminary injunction blocking the key part of it from being enforced, arguing that it could effectively criminalise legal protected speech and that it was vague to the point of unconstitutionality. Now, the same thing happened to his Stop Social Media Censorship Act, which, again, got a huge amount of attention when he first signed it. It threatened social media platforms with fines for banning political candidates, and he proposed it shortly after a number of them had removed Trump in the wake of January 6th because of, you know, that thing. But that law is also under a preliminary injunction from a judge who at one point told the DeSantis administration's lawyers, I won't put you on the spot and ask if you've ever dealt with a statute that was more poorly drafted. And look, he is still fighting those lawsuits and future decisions could wind up going his way. After all, these cases are going through higher courts that range from fairly conservative all the way up to overturned Roe v. Wade. But even when DeSantis has existing laws on his side, his application of them can be slapdash and gross. Just last year, he made a big show of announcing his new Elections, Crime and Security Office had spearheaded the arrest of 20 people who'd voted illegally. But these were largely people who the state had cleared to join the voter rolls, so they assumed they were eligible to vote, despite the fact that they technically weren't. Now, one way of dealing with that would have been to simply contact those people, explain the mistake, and remove them from the rolls. But instead, what DeSantis chose to do was to send armed cops to conduct arrests, with body cam video later revealing police with guns drawn pulling people out of their houses. And if you listen to the cops involved, even they seem annoyed and embarrassed at what they're having to do.
Just dumped this shit on me, like, they wanted us to plan a recounting operation in 4 hours.
I ain't commit no fraud.
Well, so that's the thing. I don't know exactly what happened with it, but you do have a warrant. That's what it's for.
Why is y'all doing this now and this happened years ago?
I don't know. I have no idea, man.
Wow. Do you have any idea how sketchy your order needs to be for cops to enforce it reluctantly? Enforcing laws on scared people is one of their favourite things to do. It's that, make siren go wee-woo, 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 and end of list. Now, since then, several of those cases, including all those we just showed you, have been dropped or dismissed. But it really feels like DeSantis' main aim there, as in so many cases, was just to instill fear, to make people afraid to protest, or to moderate content, or even to vote. And that is the thing. Even his sloppily written laws can end up doing real harm. And maybe the clearest place to see all of this in action is in Florida's schools, because he has been very busy there. You probably remember last year's passage of HB 1557, the Florida Parental Rights in Education Act, also known as the Don't Say Gay Bill, though DeSantis says that name pushes a false narrative and has claimed that the bill simply says no sexual instruction to kids pre-K through 3. But the truth is, the bill is not as narrow as that at all, as this DeSantis supporter openly acknowledges.
What this bill is trying to prevent is indoctrination of our children.
But the bill is a sweeping, general piece of legislation that doesn't just apply to young children, it applies throughout the entire school age, where it says age-appropriate teaching of gender identity and sexuality.
So the bill, it does, you're right, it targets kindergarten to 3rd grade, and it says, or age-appropriate.
Yeah. So when is it age-appropriate to talk about homosexuality?
It varies by the individual.
You would sue a teacher if they started talking to your daughter about same-sex marriage or LGBTQ issues at the age of 17.
If they don't have my consent and I think it's not appropriate for my daughter, yes.
Guys, you don't understand. It's age-appropriate content. What's the age? No age. 75.
Wow.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people would be quite shocked to hear that.
Well,
it's kind of a mainstream.
That is the law.
Exactly. I know that's rough to hear, but he is technically right there. Thanks to Ron DeSantis, right now, it is the law in Florida. And quick side note, it's funny how it's always the people who think homosexuality as a concept needs to be taught at an appropriate age that don't give a second thought to when they teach their kids what heterosexuality is. Although, I could be wrong. Maybe in that guy's family, his kid asks every day, "Who are you people living in my house?" And he responds, "Well, my name is Dad, that lady is Mom, and we're friends. Don't ask me any more questions until you're 18 or I will fucking sue you." And it is not just sexuality in DeSantis' crosshairs. He's also passed an act called the Stop Woke Act, which limits the ways concepts related to systemic racism and sex discrimination can be discussed in schools. And to hear him tell it, laws like that are badly needed because the wokeness in schools goes way deeper than anyone might think.
I will have math books sent to my Department of Education for review, these textbooks, and they will do things like woke math. And I'm thinking to myself, 2 + 2 = 4. It's not 2 + 2, well, let's have a struggle session over that. How do you feel about it? No. There's a right answer here.
I mean, out of context, he's completely right there. Numbers don't have feelings. If they did, this one would be sad, this one would be giggly, and this one would be exciting for a few minutes, but then the novelty wears off and it mostly just gets tired and sore. DeSantis has claimed that his state had to reject math books for containing indoctrinating concepts like race essentialism, especially bizarrely for elementary school students. Now, that is a big claim. And if it sounds like bullshit to you, that's because it absolutely is. Reporters for these outlets combed through thousands of pages of elementary school textbooks and their reviews and couldn't find any such examples. And when the DeSantis administration eventually produced...
Missed what? You said 69, 420.
Text, he's completely right there. Numbers don't have feelings. If they did, this one would be sad, this
Oh, 9/11. That's what it...
one would be giggly, and this one would be exciting for a few minutes, but then the novelty wears off and it mostly just gets tired and sore.
I'm so much happier not seeing fucking emotes in the chat. It's great.
DeSantis has claimed that his state had to reject math books for containing indoctrinating concepts like race essentialism, especially bizarrely for elementary school students. Now, that is a big claim. And if it sounds like bullshit to you, that's because it absolutely is. Reporters for these outlets combed through thousands of pages of elementary school textbooks and their reviews and couldn't find any such examples. And when the DeSantis administration eventually produced just 4 tiny snippets of what they claimed was objectionable material, 42 that came from grade school books, there is nothing about race, although one does suggest students practice with empathising with classmates while they fulfil a lesson objective of identifying numbers from 1 to 5 in sequence. That is it! So his big claim of woke math and race essentialism in grade schools is basically regular math and trying to teach kids not to be dicks to each other. A kind of math education that DeSantis himself, frankly, might have benefited from as his...
More vice signaling, dude. Again. It is literally like Ben Shapiro destroys sharing is caring with facts and logic. You know what I mean? It's so wild.
The solution to figuring out the difference between 1 and 3 questions seems to be yell until the other person stops talking. And the most recent thing you may have heard about are books being pulled from shelves in Florida schools, with viral images like these making the rounds online. Now, in classic fashion, DeSantis has pushed back on those images hard.
They've tried to create in Florida a narrative. It's basically a book ban hoax. It's a hoax what they're doing. And they're trying to say that because we have parental rights and because we have curriculum transparency, if you have a book that has hardcore pornography for in a library that 10-year-olds can access, a parent objects to that, that does not satisfy Florida standards. It should not be in the library with those young kids. And I think 99% of parents agree with that.
OK, first, let's debunk the most egregious claim there, because 99% of parents...
Hardcore pornography? What the fuck do you mean? Like... First of all, I feel like, oh God, this kind of contextual analysis is so weird because, like, the Bible is gross when you think about it as not the Bible, but instead, like, the actual stories within it. So, like, how do you live with that?
Parents don't agree on anything. I'm pretty sure you can find at least 10% of parents who are against covering electrical sockets in reach of toddlers. They're called Zap Moms, and they're all about letting kids discover their own limits of electricity. But I will give DeSantis this. There has been some misinformation floating around online. This viral list of books that were supposedly banned statewide in Florida circulated widely, but it's nonsense. Having said that, those images of empty shelves are very real and are the direct result of DeSantis' actions, because he signed legislation mandating that only approved books could be included in any school or classroom library, and that approval must come from a certified media specialist. That led some districts, including the ones those photos are from, to tell teachers to remove or cover books, not because they were pushing a false narrative, but because they were trying to comply with DeSantis' stupid law. And while DeSantis might say, well, this isn't overreaction because those books will return once they are approved, not all of them. Because thanks to his new law, as well as that Don't Say Gay bill and his Stop Woke Act, he has turbocharged the movement among conservatives to get books removed from libraries that they just don't like. And this goes way beyond removing hardcore pornography or the usual kind of give and take between parents and school boards that has been going on for decades now. What DeSantis has done is make it so anyone in a community can challenge these books. Reporters tracked down one woman who submitted 21 book challenges in one county.
Okay, get ready. Get ready. Doesn't have children. Cat lady. Lives by herself. Doesn't have children. Definitely not a parent.
Only to find that she's a retiree with no children who fully admits that she hasn't read all of them, but I've read them in partial. So basically, she just skimmed them and said,
Always.
I'm pretty...
Always. 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 Literally always. On the dot. Always, dude. I nailed it. Every fucking time. Yeah, Sean Hannity doesn't burp into the microphone. I know. He doesn't serve you 3-minute ad breaks at the top of the hour either. Which comes at the top of every hour. If you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe. Which you can do for $5 or for free with a Twitch Prime by connecting your Amazon Prime account to your Twitch account. You get one free Prime subscription a month. Use it on your favorite broadcaster. Hopefully that's me. You can also get gifted a sub if you're lucky. Here's a 3-minute ad break now. MP Sharky, thank you for the 5 get the subs, allowing 5 people to no longer see the ads at the top of the hour.
Pretty sure nobody should read this, which is coincidentally exactly how I feel about Ron DeSantis' new book, but I'm not trying to get it taken out of libraries, am I? Meanwhile,
thank you, Alexander
this
the Great
teacher
Pussy.
in Escambia County, Florida, challenged around 115 books, among them titles like And Tango Makes 3, a picture book based on the true story of 2 male penguins at the Central Park Zoo who raised a baby chick together. Apparently...
Oh, dude, that's unacceptable. That's gay. That's so stupid.
One of her objections to it is that a second grader could read it and the idea would pop into their mind that these are 2 people of the same sex that love each other. And the problem is, schools are acting on those sorts of complaints. There was a recent school board meeting in that county to address the
Pack
calls
food. Thank
to
you for the
ban
5
3 of the
gifted.
books on that teacher's list, including the penguin one. Multiple community members came to testify in favour of banning it, and some made it abundantly clear exactly what law they felt empowered them.
I probably wouldn't even talk about this book except for right and wrong is a clear line, and it's not gray, so it is black and white. It's black and white with the law when we talk about HB 1557, because we're talking about indoctrination. And when you look up this book on destiny,
Lobotomy. lobotomy. Followed after checking this libertarian's hard drives. Check him PC and also lobotomize him. No, I just like, I can't. I don't know what to do here. I like, if you're the type of person, like the thing I like in this too is like cyber stalkers, where like there's a lot of people who are hurt, right? There's a lot of people who are hurt and hurting, and they can't stop themselves. Like they just cannot. They cannot stop themselves. Like they have to be evil and awful, right? And no matter what you do, you try to like talk to them, you try to reach out, you try to, get them help. It's not going to work. Like they just will not stop no matter what you do. And this guy is kind of like that in the real world. You know what I mean? This reminded me of the Twitter post you tweeted under with the libertarian posting lolly shit. Yeah. Like this guy, there's no saving him. Like he went to a fucking parent-teacher conference to ban a book about gay penguins, man. How are you going to fix that guy? What are you going to do? How are you going to fix that lady who didn't read the books, doesn't even have children? How? What do you do? That lady has decided she is going to spend all of her fucking time just making life worse for people. You know what I mean? Isn't that your job? There's something I can't do, and this is it. I can't fix these guys. They're broken. There is a level where you cannot, there's a level of behavior that unfortunately our current medical sciences is not able to salvage you, okay? These people have pushed beyond that point. They're like psychotic cult members. Their just entire goal is to make shit worse for people that they will never see, make shit worse for people that they will never have to deal with. People just trying to live.
Destiny Discover on the schools and county website. The book says this book is about two male penguins that fall in love. Jesus said, "Go and sin no more." So this, it's against the law. Thank you.
Wow. Just think about the work he had to put into that. That man had to shower, put on a pair of pants, decide what shirt to wear, choose the light blue one that's 2 sizes too big, drive to the meeting, park his car, walk into the building, wait a while for his turn to speak, all so that he could eventually stand behind a podium and say out loud, as an adult, that he's mad about gay penguins. You almost have to admire his dedication to being such a fucking idiot. But the problem is, that fucking idiot won. At that meeting, the board voted to ban And Tango Makes Three from its schools. And when you take all of this together, the book's being removed, the inane proclamations to shame trans athletes, the sloppy attempts to criminalise protests, and you combine it with everything else, from the support for restrictive abortion bans to the efforts to stop gender-affirming care, it really begins to feel like the freest state in America is only free to the extent that anyone wants to behave exactly the way that Ron DeSantis thinks they should. And look, in the months to come, you're going to hear a lot of DeSantis versus Trump comparisons.
How do you bring the audio desync back from Japan? Is it desyncing? A little bit on the video? I don't know. Ban. Immediately. Dude, chatters are out for blood. It's okay, guys. Flip or ban. God damn. Chatters literally are immediately like, you deserve the firing squad, chatter. You said the wrong thing. No, we're not banning that guy. Calm down.
And the truth is, he'll probably come out well.
Your camera FPS doesn't look remotely 60. Yeah, no, I know. There's something wrong with my camera FPS, but I'm going to fix that after.
In a lot of them, more or less by default, but that cannot be the bar here. it is important to consider DeSantis in his own right. If Donald Trump never existed, and let's just all pause and enjoy that hypothetical just for a second. If Donald Trump never existed, and you were forced to learn about Ron DeSantis from scratch with no basis for comparison, what you would see would justifiably horrify you. Because you'd be discovering a petty autocrat and a bully, a man with no interest in hearing dissent, questions, or indeed the correct pronunciation of Thai food. And all in all, a man who is, and I do not use this term lightly, just a fucking meatball.
I wasn't even gone for that long. You stop fucking sleeping right now. YouTube said Ron DeSantis. Yeah, State Representative Phil Cristofanelli. Hey, Cristofanelli over here. Criticizes fellow GOP Representative Ann Kelly's anti-LGBT school bill.
I'm just going to read you the language in your bill. No classroom instruction by school personnel or third parties relating to sexual orientation or gender identity shall occur.
It's the volume meter.